If I woke up tomorrow morning to discover that I had lost all of my investments, here is what I would do to start over. And honestly, the first thing I would do is cry, like a lot. But once I got over the pain, here's how I would get back on track. Now, as long as you're invested in a well-diversified portfolio, the odds of this actually happening to you are slim to none. But I just thought this would be a fun idea for a video so that I can share my process of investing for people who might be new to investing, or even for those who have already started, but they like to learn more about how other people handle their finances. The truth is that starting on the journey of investing really is not that hard or complicated. So I hope that sharing exactly what I would do if I had to start over is helpful for those who are trying to get started. And I also hope that you decide to hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel and I would really appreciate it. So thank you. And of course, I have to add the disclaimer that I am not a financial advisor. These are just my own personal thoughts around what I would do with my finances. Before you ever invest your money in anything, make sure you do your own research, and if needed, make sure you talk to a certified financial advisor. All right, and before we jump into my step-by-step plan, let's also make a few assumptions, because I need to make sure I'm in a financial place where I'm ready to start investing again. So I'm going to assume that I kept my job, so I still have income coming in, and I'm also going to assume that I still have a place to live, because housing isn't really the focus of this video. So let's just say that I'm not quite homeless or jobless, but my net worth has plummeted down to zero. And just saying that is stressing me out. And I'm also assuming that I don't have any bad consumer debt, because obviously if I did, that should be my first focus before worrying about investing. But let's move on to how I would actually handle my investments. The first thing I would do related to starting over with my investing is I would go to my employer 401k and I would enroll in it up to the employer match. It's fairly common that employers will match a certain percentage of your contributions to your 401k up to a predetermined percentage of your salary. So for example, if your company offers a one-to-one match on any contributions up to 5% of your income and you make $100,000 per year, then they won't match every dollar you contribute to your 401k up until you hit $5,000 in contributions. You can keep putting money in after that, but you're no longer going to get the match. And this is a great benefit to take advantage of because it's going to be an automatic 100% return on your investment. And it's pretty much guaranteed. Every dollar you invest is automatically going to earn another dollar because of the match. I think a lot of people do not put enough respect on the employer match because they think, oh, it's only 5% of my income. It can't really make that much of a difference. But because of compound interest, that's actually just not true. To demonstrate how powerful the employer match can be, let's look at the following scenario. So let's say your employer offers a 401k match of 1-to-1 on any contributions up to 5% of your salary, and you make $100,000 per year. We're going to assume that that stays the same over 40 years just to make the math simple, but obviously you should have some raises throughout your career. And let's say you decide to contribute 5% of your own salary towards your 401k, therefore taking full advantage of the employer match. Well, after 40 years, assuming an average rate of return of 7%, you would have almost $2 million. But the crazy thing is that 50% of the contributions to your 401k were from your employer match because you put in 5% and your employer put in 5%, meaning that the employer match really grew to be $1 million over the span of your career. You'd be missing out on a ton of money without it. So just remember that these things compound, and this is absolutely something that you should prioritize. And that's why I put it here on step 1 before I do anything else. Now, just to be clear, taking advantage of the match is great. That's step 1. But you should eventually be contributing more to your retirement instead of just 5% of your salary, or else you're going to get behind on your retirement investing. But don't worry, I'll come back to this eventually. You should also hit that subscribe button. Again, I would really appreciate it, so thanks. Now, assuming I woke up with no investments or no money, I need to build some level of emergency savings before we dive deeper into investing. We're going to go quick here because this step isn't really the focus of the video, but it's still important to remember. You've got to build up a buffer of cash before you invest in anything, or else something unexpected is going to happen, or there's going to be an emergency and you're going to have to pull out out from your investments to cover that. And really, anything you invest shouldn't even be considered an option when it comes to paying for any expenses that might come up. So for step 2, I'm going to build an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months worth of expenses so that when I do invest, I can just leave those investments alone. This piece of advice might seem like common sense, and I hope it is, but if you follow it, you're going to find a lot more success with your investing, and you're also just going to have a lot more peace of mind knowing that you have cash set aside for any unexpected things that come up. All right, see, I told you that would be quick. Okay, I finally have a proper emergency fund in place, so let's now go back to the 401k. And also, let's just talk about retirement investing in general. For step 3, I personally am going to go back to my 401k and fully max out my 401k contributions to the annual limit. For 2024, the most you can put in your 401k is $23,000, but note that that limit does not include the employer match. So you can put in $23,000 of your own money, and then your employer match can be on top of that. And if I have the option, I'm also going to choose for that to be a Roth 401k. I don't have time in this video to get into the specifics on Roth versus traditional investment accounts, but if you want to learn more about this, I'll link one of my videos right here, and I'll also put it in the description. Now, before you start typing in the comments and getting mad at me for telling people to max out their 401ks and how that's not possible, I want to acknowledge that this is going to be overkill for most people. I'm a huge maximizer when it comes to finances and investing, so I am personally comfortable contributing a large percentage of my income towards that. So I just wanted to share what I personally would do, but let me also give you some guidance on some general retirement investing goals that most people follow. I think that in general, you should be contributing at least 15% of your own salary towards your retirement, and that could be using a 401k or an IRA or another type of investing account. That advice is pretty standard, and if you commit to it, you're going to be financially ahead of most people. However, I personally like to challenge people to try and contribute at least 20% of their income towards their retirement. That will really put them ahead and will jumpstart their wealth building journey. And I just want to clarify, these percentages do not include your employer match. So the employer match will just be on top of what you're already contributing. All right, and because I'm insane, step 4 is going to be maxing out a Roth IRA. So in addition to my 401k investing, I'm also going to go and open up a Roth IRA, and I'm going to max that out for the year. And the max contribution limit for 2024 in an IRA is $7,000. Now again, this is overkill. If you're already contributing 15 to 20% of your income towards your retirement investments, then don't feel like this is something you have to do. It's just another way to maximize your investing with tax incentives if you're looking to do more. All right, we're going to stay on the theme of being too much for step 5, which is I'm also going to open up an HSA through my employer and max that out. Now, an HSA stands for a health savings account. And I'm not going to take a ton of time explaining the benefits of the HSA, but here's a quick overview. Pretty much, the HSA will allow you to save and invest for future medical expenses tax-free. And these tax breaks are as follows. The money you put in is tax deferred, meaning you don't pay income tax on the money that you put into an HSA. Your investments within the account continue to grow tax-free, so you don't pay taxes on that growth or dividends. And when you're ready to withdraw that money for a qualified medical expense, you can do that tax-free as well. So if you're using this account for medical expenses, then it's pretty much fully tax-free, which is awesome. The contribution limit to an HSA in 2024 is $4,150. And to be eligible for an HSA, you do have to have a high deductible health insurance plan. So make sure you talk to your provider beforehand to make sure that you qualify. And that's pretty much all there is when it comes to tax-advantaged retirement investment accounts. If I was planning on doing any additional investing, that's where I would open a normal taxable brokerage, which is just a regular investing account. And I'm also not a huge crypto guy. I mostly just like to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, but if I was going to do that, this is the stage I would invest in those things. Up until this point in the video, we've talked about the different accounts that I would utilize to do my investing in, but I'm sure you're asking, what would you actually want to invest in? What stocks are you currently looking at? And again, remember, I am not a financial advisor. Don't invest in anything unless you fully understand it yourself. These investments are just things that I personally like to put money into. But as a general philosophy, I actually do not try to pick my own single stocks, and I don't try to manage my own asset allocation. I like to invest in things like index funds and target date retirement funds so that my investments are automatically diversified for me. Keep in mind that the vast majority of people who try to pick their own stocks and manage their portfolio fail to outperform the S&P 500 over the long term. The average investor would be much better off just investing in the overall market instead of trying to beat it. One of my favorite ways to invest my money is through index funds. An index fund is pretty simple. It will just track a predetermined group of stocks. And you can find an index fund that will track pretty much anything. For example, you can find index funds that will track various market indices like the S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, plus many others. You can also find index funds that will track various sectors of the economy, like tech, for example. I personally like to find index funds that track the performance of the S&P 500 because I believe in the overall American economy and I want to invest in those large American companies that have a great performance over time. But I will also sometimes find index funds that track tech stocks because I like the growth that's associated with that sector. It's a little riskier, so I don't put a lot of my portfolio there, but it is something that I like to do. And another key benefit to index funds is they usually have super low expense fees with them. But if you don't want to pick index funds, there's an even easier option for you. And they're called target date retirement funds, which are funds you can invest in that will automatically diversify your portfolio for you over time. So for example, you would pick a fund that aligned with your current projected retirement date. So if you're younger, that's not going to be for like 40 years. And that fund will tend to be a little more risky and more growth oriented the further you are away from retirement, which really just means that it's more heavily invested in stocks instead of bonds. However, as you approach retirement age, it will start automatically shifting your investments from stocks over to bonds, as bonds are typically seen as more safe and less volatile. And these funds are great because, like I said, you don't have to worry about anything. You just put your money in and forget about it. And I personally use both target date retirement funds and index funds, and both of those together make up more than 90% of my investing. Sometimes I do like to have fun investments in my traditional brokerage account that does consist of some single stocks, or I also do hold some crypto, but I try to keep those around 5% of my total investing because, again, like I said, I personally would rather just be invested in the overall market. So yeah, if I woke up tomorrow with absolutely nothing invested, that's what I would do step by step. Let me know if you like this video. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said in the video. I want to hear about it. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.